You just clicked on a video that includes way too early running back rankings for the 2025 fantasy football season. You could have only done that probably for two reasons. One, you're a degenerate like myself, or two, you're just trying to establish a baseline of the best overall players. And then as the offseason progresses and we go through free agency and the NFL draft, we try to make adjustments so that way when our fantasy football drafts come around, we have the best possible rankings out there. That's why in today's show, I'm breaking down the top 25 current running backs for 2025 fantasy football, and I'm doing it into tier rankings. Now, between the current landscape in the NFL at the running back position and some incoming rookies, this position is looking deeper than it has in years. So if you're ready to kick off your 2025 domination, do me a favor, sit back, relax, kick up your feet, grab a cold one, and let's dive into some running back tier rankings for 2025. Now, when we pull up tier 1, we got the likes of Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, Derrick Henry, Jahmyr Gibbs, Josh Jacobs, and Devon Achane. Now, for Saquon Barkley, he's coming off a season with over 2,200 total yards, 100 plus total yards in all but 3 games this year, 20 plus touches in all but 3 games this year, has gone over 150 total yards in 8 games this season, and there is no reason to not believe that he's going to be heavily involved. Once again, Saquon Barkley in Philadelphia is my number 1 current running back for 2025. After him, it's Bijan Robinson. He's one of only 4 running backs in 2024 to score at least 300 fantasy points. Now, what's really crazy about that is it took till after week 6 for head coach Raheem Morris to commit huge weekly volume to Bijan Robinson. Now, possibly we have Michael Penix to start the year in 2025. That makes the overall offense better. Bijan at number 2. Number 3 is Derrick Henry. He just had his best quote-unquote overall season of his career, even though many people thought he was too old and just washed up heading into the season. Baltimore just runs the ball way too much, and with Lamar Jackson under center, we could see Derrick Henry have a couple more huge years left in Baltimore. He's at number 3. Now, after him, we go down to Jahmyr Gibbs at number 4. Now, it didn't really matter if David Montgomery was out there or not. Jahmyr Gibbs was out there scoring big-time fantasy points all season long. He had 12 games this season with over 15 fantasy points. Now, we know that Ben Johnson is gone, but with that offensive line and Dan Campbell as the head coach, you have to expect Detroit to continue to run the football quite a bit once again in 2025. Then we move down to Josh Jacobs, and this may be a slight surprise to people, but he was one of the safest weekly starts at the running back position in 2024. After week 4, he scored at least 11 fantasy points in every single game. The volume he was getting every week was huge. He was receiving pass catching work, and overall, the passing game still needs to be figured out in Green Bay, so Josh Jacobs should be a huge piece of that offense once again in 2025. Then we go down to Devon Achane. He is highly dependent on Tua being the quarterback, but you have to think that in the offseason, Miami is going to put a lot of focus on improving that offensive line. They got to keep Tua healthy and under center. That's only going to help Devon Achane. Plus, last season, he proved that he could stay healthy an entire NFL year. But what's really most important there is that Raheem Mostert was pretty much phased out of the offense. It's going to be Devon Achane going forward, so if Tua stays healthy and they improve the offensive line, I got him right here, the bottom of tier 1 at RB6, but definitely a running back we're paying close attention to this offseason. All right, let's go ahead and dive in to tier 2, where we have Jonathan Taylor, Joe Mixon, Kyren Williams, Jace Brown, James Cook, and Chuba Hubbard. Now for Jonathan Taylor, he had 1,400 total yards and 12 touchdowns this year, and people just act like he sucked. He had 100 plus total yards in 10 of his 14 games and had scored at least 12 touchdowns in every season that he's played at least 14 games. I'm not writing off JT. Then we have Joe Mixon. He really faded down the stretch of the 2024 season, and because of that, people are going to fade him in 2025. You have to think that Houston is going to address the offensive line this offseason, but the volume that Joe Mixon sees in this offense is great. But you gotta remember this, They dealt with injuries to wide receivers all year long. Opposing defenses didn't have to worry about that triple threat of wide receivers in this offense, and it allowed them to stack the boxes a little bit more against Joe Mixon. If the pass-catching weapons can come back healthy in 2025 and they improve the offensive line overall, Joe Mixon in line for a huge season. How about Kyren Williams? Dude was solid in 2024, but he really wasn't what so many people expected him to be. The volume is there, and we know Sean McVay loves him though, so as of right now, I got him at RB9. At 10, this is where I put Chase Brown. He may be the best call I had in 2024. We had him in our draft guide. We had him all over our preseason videos. It was videos like this that actually made us look at Chase Brown earlier in the offseason than a lot of other people did. He helped people win fantasy titles, and he's cheap, and Cincinnati needs money, so I expect his role to stay because they're getting him at a huge discount. After him is James Cook of the Buffalo Bills. He got almost 15 touches a game in an offense that allowed him a touchdown upside of 18 touchdowns in 2024. We know he's going to remain a weekly mainstay in this offense. Even though the touchdown total will likely drop, he's still a top 12 option heading into the season. How about Chuba Hubbard? A lot of people may not expect Chuba Hubbard to be top 12, but damn it, he deserves it. We're about to hit a part of the rankings where a lot of question marks are going to come up. We don't have a lot of those question marks with Chuba Hubbard. He had almost 1,400 total yards and 11 touchdowns last year, and the team didn't even start figuring it out until late in the season. We know Jonathan Brooks is down once again with a major injury, and Hubbard was extended, which means his role is going to stay the same as what we saw in 2024, which once again makes him a top 12 option right here, the bottom of tier 2. All right, let's keep it moving down to tier 3 then. We got Christian McCaffrey, Ashton Genty, Bucky Irving, Breece Hall, David Montgomery, and James Conner. Now for CMC, yes, this is probably the lowest he's been in a while. And because of it, there's a lot of people out there that are saying never again when it comes to Christian McCaffrey. But those are also the same people that said that after 2021 when he only played in 7 games in Carolina, yet drafted him early when he was in San Francisco. The fact remains this: if he plays, he scores fantasy points. If he's healthy, he's going to be an absolute steal in 2025, but there's going to be a lot of risk involved with that, and that's why he will be lower in a lot of people's rankings this season. Now, after him, we have incoming rookie Ashton Genty, and there's a lot of speculation on where this kid could land in the NFL draft. Obviously, once we know what team he's on, we're going to have a better understanding of where to rank him, but as of right now, the 2 teams that I see the most out there are the Dallas Cowboys and the Denver Broncos. Now, that does not mean that's where he lands for sure, but I will tell you this: if he does land in either Dallas or Denver, he's going to have top 12 potential. Then we move down to Bucky Irving, and how much does Liam Cohen leaving really hurt the status of Bucky Irving? You have to think that he retains that lead role, but can this offense put up as many points as we've seen the last couple of seasons? There are definitely some unknowns this offseason when it comes to Tampa Bay, and Bucky Irving still shares a backfield with Rachaad White. Now, after him, this is where we got Breece Hall at RB16, and what happens this offseason with Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams? How does new head coach Aaron Glenn structure this offense? Can the defense return to an elite level and really allow the Jets to play with a lead for once? If that's the case, we'll be able to move Breece Hall a little bit higher, but we need to find out where this team is going this offseason before we do so. After him is David Montgomery. We know that Jahmyr Gibbs has basically taken complete control, and that is going to lower Monty's ceiling, but he's still a safe, locked-in RB2 almost every single week of a fantasy football season. He's in a high-scoring offense behind one of the best offensive lines in football, and he's getting plenty of touchdown opportunities. He'll stay as a mid to low-end RB2. How about James Conner here to round out tier 3? 1,500 total yards, and he missed a game, plus played in less than 50% of the snaps in 4 other games. So in reality, it only comes down to health. If he stays healthy, he produces, but that is a big if, and that's why he's right here at the bottom of tier 3. Which means all we have left is tier 4. It's Tyrone Tracy, Aaron Jones, Alvin Kamara, Najee Harris, Tony Pollard, DeAndre Swift, and Kenneth Walker. So for Tyrone Tracy, as a rookie, he really didn't get much of a chance until week 5 of the NFL season. However, he still ended up with 1,123 total yards and 6 touchdowns on one of the worst teams in football. Now they're going to have a new incoming quarterback, and this team is not stacked with weapons. Tracy is a 3-down capable running back and hopefully has more touchdown upside with an improved offense in 2025. After him is Aaron Jones, and he is an upcoming free agent, but you have to think that he comes back to Minnesota, even if it's for a little bit of a discount. The guy just had 1,500 total yards and 7 touchdowns. Now, if they end up going to J.J. McCarthy at quarterback, he's definitely going to need a veteran running back to take some of the pressure off of him. Aaron Jones is a great fit in Minnesota. Which takes us down to Alvin Kamara here up next, and he just had the quietest 1,493 yard season maybe ever. Another team there in New Orleans that is just not stacked with a ton of offensive weapons. We know that Kamara is still capable of huge volume. We've just seen a huge drop in efficiency here over the last couple of years. This team just could not find the end zone much this year, and it killed the overall ceiling of Alvin Kamara. Does that improve in 2025? It's a big if, so Alvin Kamara sitting right here at 21. 22 is Najee Harris, another guy who's an upcoming free agent, and one of two things are going to happen with Najee. He's either going to stay in Pittsburgh and continue to eat heavily because Jaylen Warren is a free agent also, or some other team is going to sign Najee Harris, be forced to pay him probably too much money, which means they're going to use him heavily as well. He is still a capable 3-down running back who has been buried in a vanilla Pittsburgh offense for years. Really looking forward to see where Najee lands. How about Tony Pollard up next? Could they go quarterback at number 1 in Tennessee? If so, that only helps Tony Pollard. He's now had 3 straight seasons with at least 1,300 total yards. He just had minimal touchdown chances on a bad team last year in Tennessee. Could Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward change that if they're taken at number 1? We may not know the answer to that yet, but it can't get much worse. How about DeAndre Swift next at number 24? And he showed flashes in Chicago last year. He started off the season super hot, and the offense in Chicago has the pieces on the outside to keep boxes empty. But now they have a new offensive-minded head coach in Ben Johnson over from the Detroit Lions. Could DeAndre Swift get that quote-unquote Jahmyr Gibbs role in Chicago? We're paying close attention to that this offseason. And then we round out tier 4 with Kenneth Walker of the Seattle Seahawks. He is going to be coming off his worst season of his career. But considering he missed 6 games and still had 870 total yards and 8 touchdowns, you have to think he'll be in that RB2 mix once again in 2025. Which will wrap up our way too early top 25 running back rankings for 2025. But like I said in the opening, remember, we're establishing a baseline. Then we follow everything throughout the offseason and make adjustments. You shouldn't be getting butthurt about January rankings. And if you are getting butthurt about January rankings, maybe fantasy football isn't for you. But what I do know is it's a lot of fun to start talking about here even before the Super Bowl is even played. I really live my life by the motto of failing to prepare is preparing to fail. And between you and me, I hate to fail. So if you agree with me and that's you, do me a favor by hitting the like button if you haven't already, and then consider subscribing to the channel even though we're about to head into the off-season. We will absolutely blow your mind when it comes to off-season content. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here for the day. Hopefully you enjoy the rest of your day, and then most importantly, do your part to make the world a better place.